Hey there guys, gals, and non-binary pals, it's DMG and welcome back to Blitz, and today we have a few more subscriber replays. Now, I'm going to try a new format for these videos, trying to put the replays back to back and then save the post-game results until the end for all the replays. Hopefully you guys like this format better. Please let me know. I'm still trying to work out some of the technical issues and formatting everything in a good way where I can get the best look at the replay and provide the best commentary. Also, I do my commentaries live in that I do not watch the games before. Please let me know if you would prefer live commentary or if you would prefer for me to watch it before and maybe give other remarks. Anyways, we are going to watch 5 games today, the first being in the T44 from Numbers. Now, the name is not actually Numbers, it's just a bunch of different numbers thrown together. I cannot possibly get through that all in one go. I've tried on the team loading screen in other recordings or in other recording attempts and it did not happen. So I'm just going to call them Numbers for now. Now Numbers is just going to go to the corner in the T44, the Tier 8 Russian medium tank using the pink unexpected camouflage, which I kind of like, but I hope the T44 does get a legendary camouflage. I don't know why Russian tanks look really good in their kind of dark drab green if they get legendary camouflage like the IS-6, right? Anyways, prepping the turret correctly and putting a shot across into the KV-13 allows Numbers to hit that shot on the move with decent consistency. And the T44 is better here than any other Tier 8 Russian medium because you have 7 degrees of gun depression as compared to the 54 Mod 1's 5 and the the 54 Mod 1's 5 and the 44 100's 5 as well. Now, being able to have that 7 degrees of gun depression allows Numbers to hit that shot on that T69 crossing and then also hit a shot on the KV-13 and then go back to the T69 for another shot. And while he does have to poke up a little bit, it's not as bad as, say, the KV-13, who has just got absolutely deleted in that moment because the KV-13 does not have the gun depression. Now, I would back off here. This is a little bit of a mistake. You're letting an autoloader clip out on you, firing on the interclip reload, so that's a little dangerous. But unfortunately, once the clip is done, Numbers can really easily take it to the T69 in the corner and finish him off with APCR. And the good part about the T44 is that compared to the 54 Mod 1, I believe the gun is just a little better, not in terms of pen, but in handling. I actually have to check the stats on that to see the truth value of that, but as you can see, if the SP1C is not driving in front, the T44's gun can really easily punch through targets like the Tiger 1 and same tier mediums. Now, as we're going to see soon enough, the pen may struggle just a little bit against heavily armored targets like the KV-4, but if you aim, it should not be that much of a problem. Now, Numbers is doing the right thing. He's going for that Emil, because it has higher DPM, weaker armor, you can blast HE. Personally, I would have gone for another HE round there, and I qualify that as a mistake. You could kill that Emil in one shot and save the SP1C a shot on your team that they can try and put a shot into the KV-4. Doing things like that in terms of, knowing your ammo choices and being able to finish off targets in one shot versus 2 shots creates a faster time to kill and allows you to be more efficient with your rounds. It allows your team to put out more damage into targets in a shorter amount of time. So just having that knowledge really, really snowballs into the late game. Now, as you can see, the KV-4 is a very well-armored tank, but even through the side, the T44 with some, adequate aiming can penetrate the KV-4 with ease. Into the IS-3, gets kind of mad there. As you can see, the screen kind of flick. He's a PC noob. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Anyways, throwing another round into the IS-5, but the teammate takes him out, or the IS-3, and now is into the IS-5 on the other side. End of the game. Should really be pushing here to finish it off. But I love how he stops and just kind of aims for the shot, making sure that if he can shoot sooner, he will be able to, but is not waiting for the shot necessarily. Moving whenever it is available, and is trying to get into the IS-3 and the IS-5. Now, the important thing here to look at is that you need to have good technique. And I know it's impossible to pen every shot, but you have to play like you will pen every shot. Or, I mean, at least do the right things enough so that you will pen every shot. And, you know, there's a few mistakes here that you saw. You saw 2 bounces on this IS-5 here, then you saw a bounce on that IS-3 in the river. If he would have confirmed those kills, that would have given his team more time to make their actions worthwhile. And it's so important to hit your shots. And I say this in pubs, I say this in competitive to my team. Hitting your shots is of paramount importance. You need to pen. If you don't, you're wasting your DPM, you're giving them free shots, stuff like that. Anyways, great game for a mastery there. Of course, we'll see it in the post-game results. I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. Now we are watching Sean in the T-34-85 victory. The Tier 6 Russian premium medium tank. Now, compared to the T-34-85 in the tech tree, I'm not that much of a fan of this tank. I think the tech tree variant is much better, has much better pen, and the only thing it gives up in return is a small amount of rate of fire. But that DPM difference is minimal enough for me that I'd rather take 20 to 25 millimeters more extra penetration on my standard rounds when I'm going against heavily armored targets like T-150s or Tiger Ps, right? That penetration really makes the difference. Now Sean is doing the correct movement, the correct opening play, being able to spot tanks going to the left or to the right, giving early information. Now, of course, there's always that one person or 3 people or 2 people, I can't really see, in this case, going to the town, and Sean needs to move immediately to pressure the other team before he loses out on time. Into that KV-2, and hitting shots on the side. Really important that you need to pen here because KV-2s need to go out of the game. It's not a great tank, but it can cause problems for players that do not understand that you need to rush it on its reload, which I would say that there are a fair amount of players out there. I have been on their team and against them. Anyways, the T-34-85's higher rate of fire than the tech tree variant is allowing Sean to really burn down this KV-2. I mean, not, you know, noticeably faster, but noticeably enough that it's going to make the difference. Maybe this extra 2 seconds or 1 second total that the T-34-85 victory is going to get over the tech tree is allowing Sean to kill that KV-2 before it gets a second shot off. And I would say the KV-2, of course, gets a little lucky or maybe a little unlucky depending on how you view Russian bias, right? Or the KV-2's gun, and he falls to Sean in a quick burning death. Anyway, into the next KV-2, takes that one out of the game, and now into the Leopard. Quite easy to penetrate here. Having high penetration doesn't really mean much when you're playing against Tier 5 light tanks, so he's really able to abuse this high rate of fire, and this is where the premium variant is really nice. And something else just about the T-34-85 is that I know there's some people that think this tank is great, but that was just a different meta. And if this tank was on sale again, I would not get it, because there's just better options out there. I'd even take a VK-2801, because while it doesn't have the DPM, it has the same kind of armor profile. Or I'd get, of course, the tech tree variant of the T-34-85. But this tank was hailed because it was a different flavor. Back when this tank was introduced, there weren't very many other premium tanks, and medium tanks at that were premium. So the 34-85 provided a different flavor to the game that was fresh. It didn't resemble the play of the Lurver of the IS-6. So it gave a nice change of pace to credit grinding, and that's why people enjoy this tank. But to say that it stacks up against your Star Chasers, your Cromwell Bs even, or the Tech Tree 34-85, it just doesn't. But anyways, great game there. We will see the results. Next one is going to be the same player, Sean again, in another Tier 6 premium. This is the Kuro Mori Mine, the Tier 6 Japanese weeb tank, or the, heavy tank, and they're going to show us on mines why this tank can dominate. Now, I'm personally not a fan of the Kuro, as I think it is inferior to the T-150. The Kuro is just simply a Tiger 1 moved down a tier with a worse gun. Now, and while the armor profile is better tier for tier, the gun is noticeably worse. Not to say that this gun is bad, it's just not as blisteringly good as the Tiger 1. Now, the armor profile works a lot more at tier 6, but I still prefer the T150 just because it has such a better armor profile, tier for tier. Now, the Kuro does have decent DPM. Something that it really does have going for it is a large amount of health points. If you're looking for kind of a mouse roll, I mean, even though, like I say, I like to use T150, the Kuro is a viable option for tier 6 tournaments. You just have to be very careful, as it's still susceptible to the same kinds of guns: KV2s, SU-152s, KV-1S. Things can really punch a hole in this tank if you're not careful, or if the other team doesn't aim, which we are seeing right there. Anyways, into the KV2 on the other team, he's abusing this ridgeline slightly, and the terrain that he's on, since he's kind of on the mountain cliff, as you can see, it's giving him some artificial amounts of gun depression. It's allowing him to put shots across in a very good way using his gun depression against a T-29, notorious for being extremely good at haul down play. Another important thing here is that he's using his hit points well. He's not burning too much, and he's only poking out after they have fired. In some cases that is true, in other cases that isn't, so I have to retract that statement a little bit. But now is the time to rush. He's not wasting any time. A little bit of bad driving there means that he's not getting there as quickly. Could have probably gone for a ram there on that KV3, but maybe it wasn't the best idea, as the KV3 is quite heavy. I'm just thinking about it in the perspective of maybe taking the tracks off, getting the KV3's attention, allowing him to maybe save his teammate. Now, good stuff here. Just right through. I'm not sure if... Oh, that's not a KV3. That's a KV-13, so I would definitely have rammed there. But KV-13 looks like he's not running the top gun for the tank, and he's just bouncing off the Kuro. And this is where the Kuro's armor profile is good against weaker medium tanks that don't have strong pen. Even tanks that are a tier above the Kuro would have a relatively strong armor profile against. And now it's the final kill of the game. Needs to go after this. Of course, needs to be smart with his hit points. Actually, no, this is not the final kill of the game. I just cannot see what is what. Anyways, something that I think is important to note here is that if he would have penned his shots, his teammates would be alive. But at this time, now that the SU has been focused down, and since he hit that shot in the SU, that allows the other SU on his team to put a shot through and create a 2v1 instead of him missing and then creating a 2v1 against him, with him as the one. So, like I said, this replay and last replay, really important to pen your shots. Or, excuse me, yes, this replay and last replay, really important to pen your shots. I cannot stress enough when someone misses a shot that they should hit, and it just changes the momentum of the game. You can feel it, because every shot you miss, the other team gets more confident, and they think, oh, this guy isn't good. But if you keep them back, and you say, every time you're going to poke, I'm going to pen you, that makes it a very, very scary trade for the other team, because they know that you are competent enough that no matter what they do, you are going to pen them if they poke. And it really limits their options, whereas if they think they have a chance at getting a shot off at you, then that just opens up the world to them. They have more options. You know, they'll try and poke on you, and they may pen you too. You may bounce, but they may pen you. Anyways, Kuro doing good work here against the KV2. I don't know how he missed that first shot and then hits the second shot right. That was just kind of odd to me. But good stuff there. Kuro has that high rate of fire compared to the KV2, allowing him to take the KV2 out of the game. Good stuff there for a mastery badge that we will see later. I keep thinking I'm about to commentate on the damage and the kills, but then I remembered I'm doing this new format. As a side note, I will also be trying to get these in full screen for myself, so I will be able to provide even more detailed content on what's going on. I can only see maybe about what would be a quarter of your screen. It looks like it's about a 5 by 3 like note card size box that I'm watching the replay on. So I think maybe next time I will try screen recording and an audio recording as well. It's going to be a matter of timing that correctly. Anyways, now we have the pleasure of watching Adrian DeGod playing in the Sherman E8. I was about to say the Jumbo, but this is not the Jumbo. Now, what is so good about this tank is that 12 degrees of gun depression, 4.8 second reload. My God, that is lethal. And a decently strong turret. And you can see Adrian going to work using this very American, well, of course it's American, but the M4 EZ8 carries over its American gun dispersion on the move values, its bloom values throughout the line. It is fantastic. So if you're looking for good on the move shooting, American mediums are your thing. Or Russian mediums, right? But American mediums are notoriously good at this and getting the comfort of just getting shots off. And, you know, the M4 EZ8 doesn't have the best pen, but this high rate of fire is allowing Adrian to put shots across at a reasonable pace. You wouldn't get this in the T-34-85 Victory. And he's perpetrated the KV-1S, allowing him to take him out of the game. KV-1S fires a spite shot, does not pen, and Adrian takes him right out of the game. You would not get that with the VKP or the T-34-85, and this is why having a higher rate of fire, if you can fire on the reload, is better. And Adrian is making a great use of that high rate of fire. He's putting the tank in positions for it to succeed. Now into the Churchill 1, good stuff here. Using gun depression, and we will see this even more, that 12 degrees of gun depression buys you so much at tier 6, being able to expose a very small turret profile. And another interesting thing is that when you have 12 degrees of gun depression, if you look at the M4 EZ8's front, it is so strong when you use your full amount of gun depression, because then it creates a very steep angle on your upper plate. And you really don't see a lower plate on this tank, which makes it really strong. And even the lower part of the hull on this tank is stronger than the upper part. Now, the upper glacis of this tank does have weaker armor than the lower plate, but when you're angled, it makes it really hard. And then when people come over the ridge to shoot you, they want to try and get your lower plate, but in raw thickness, it is stronger than the upper part of the plate. So it just makes it a real tough pen if you're able to use gun depression well. This tank, I would say, is very key, along with the Tier 5 M4, in learning fundamentals of the benefits of gun depression. I would really recommend this tank to anybody, and the Shrieking camo they have for it is fantastic. I love historical camos. They look great. Personally, I just love any good-looking camo, but good stuff there. End of the game. Great stuff to Adrian for being able to use gun depression well and taking out targets, rushing at the right time, and using his DPM, especially on that KV-1S. That was fantastic. That moment probably won him the game because it took out a massive amount of alpha and a push deterrent. Our next game and our final game will be a continuation of last video. This is Ariel the Beast playing in the IS-4 on Alpenstadt. This is the new map that was introduced in the most recent patch, and you'll be playing, like I said, in the IS-4, the Tier 10 Russian Heavy, leading on from the not the IS-8, the ST-1. Christ, right? Anyways, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the IS-4, but we're going to see why it works. I personally think that this tank could be better, but it is good. Some people really like it. I just personally do not like the angles you have to set this tank at. I don't like the HE weakness. The gun is pretty accurate for a heavy, but I would still rather drive an IS-7 because, guys, I mean, this may just be my own personal bias, but there is nothing like an IS-7 in the game. You can talk about the 113, you can talk about the IS-4. There is nothing like an IS-7, guys. That amount of troll hull and turret and alpha and 50km/h speed just put into one package is ridiculous. Now we're going to see Ariel go into the E4, put in good shots. IS-4 has good penetration, good gun for a Tier X heavy. And a nice bounce there. I personally don't know how he gets that, but good stuff there. Now, working this angles, I would immediately try and side scrape off another building, but immediately goes back into cover against the E4. E4 is still trying to aim to get that shot, and it doesn't happen. Gets taken out of the game for his trouble, and Aerial is now into the side turret of the other IS-4 on the enemy team. Working good angles here, putting himself in a position to be able to shoot the IS-4 without getting shot from the E3 in front of him, and is able to put in good shots and keep the pressure on the IS-4, letting his team work around and then rush the IS-4. Good teamwork here, and now should probably focus down the the E3, getting his attention, preventing the E3 from getting easy shots on his teammates. But instead tries to go for the IS-4. I'd consider that wasted DPM until that moment, but good shot there into the side turret. And now really needs to engage the E3. Needs to immediately start side scraping unless he can confirm this kill. Doesn't. Rushes the shot, wastes DPM, and should probably go for the E3 in this moment. Instead goes for the IS-4. E100 takes him out of the game and now is into the E3. Goes to heat, or excuse me, doesn't go to heat. Tries to pen with AP and does not get the penetration. Now switches the heat, does the correct thing, and starts going for the E3's lower plate, just like he should. Not a very good reverse side scrape in this moment, but it is working enough because the E3 is not looking at Aerial. I really like this play so far, except for this moment, but good stuff there on the move, keeping the front armor to the T-54, and while the IS-4 can pen the IS-4's side turret, the T-54 cannot. The T-54 has extremely low penetration, especially if you're running the gun that I like to use, the Object 140 gun, the one that carries better handling for a bit less penetration. And now this T-54's game is just over. There's no way he can penetrate the IS-4 frontally unless he switches to heat and goes for the lower plate. Another good shot there, and now finally into the remaining tanks into the game. He needs to hit this shot on the FV-183. Should probably try and save this E100 here. Hopefully the E100 does take him out of the game. I'm not sure if the IS-4 will have the reload to get the 183. I'm a bit unsure on this one. Looks like he doesn't. 183 takes out the E100, and Aerial now needs to rush on that 183 before the reload occurs. Now, 183 can be a very dangerous tank, but when you don't give it the opportunity to keep heshing targets at will, it's not extremely dangerous. Of course, it's never fun to take a 1300 hesh run. I've been in that shoes. I've been in those shoes, and I've felt the pain as well. So, but at the same time, you know, Aerial's doing a good job of countering each tank, using his tank, just good fundamentals. You see, he's not poking too hard, or when he does poke, it's against a gun that is not looking at him. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. I mean, if it is intentional, that's good. If it's not, that needs a mistake that needs to be worked on, and he's just gotten quite lucky. Now, I like the movement here, and while the T95 goes for C, Aerial goes for B, capping out B, allowing them to stay ahead on points and giving them the cap advantage. There's no point to chase a T95 when you have cap advantage, and that's exactly what Aerial's going to do. But now that cap advantage has been achieved, Aerial can just simply go in and go for the kill, get as much damage as he can. T95 goes into C. Aerial knows exactly, or at least a very good estimate of where he is. Great shot with AP. Do you see that snapshot? That is exactly the kind of play that people need to have consistently to be uni, right? Now, if you can just do that kind of stuff consistently, I'm sure Aerial would be able to raise stats further. But anyways, good game to Aerial there. Nice mastery for the trouble, and a good, clean, crisp win on cap. I like that. Very, very good. Anyways, we're going to be into the post-game results soon. You'll see them all in order. Great games. I'm not really going to commentate too much on, I mean, okay, 4,300 great stuff numbers, and then 2,794 and 6 destroyed. Pool's medal, great stuff. Another one, 2 destroyed, 2,600 damage, and there's the team screenshot as well. If you like that content, please hit that like button and subscribe, and if you didn't, please leave your constructive criticism in the comment section. As always, I appreciate the opportunity to share my passion with you today, and I hope to see you next time. Please let me know how you like the new format in the comments. Peace.